Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another video where I, Attorney Matthew Lang, VA accredited attorney, speak to you about VA disability. In this video, I want to give an overview of the appeals process. So, veterans, a lot of this information you're going to find in a letter with multiple pages and handouts. So, I do recommend you refer to that and actually read that in detail. It's a very dry letter, maybe kind of confusing in a way, but it does tell you what to do if you do disagree with that decision and the avenues you have available to you. But if you don't get an opportunity to read that, or maybe you don't understand something, hey, here we are. Let's get you some information and help you out here. So the decision that comes out after an original claim or a claim for increase of veterans may not be exactly what you want it to be. You may want to appeal it. You get the option of appealing the determination of whether the condition is service connected or not. You are able to appeal the evaluation if one is assigned, along with the effective date, if you don't think any of those are correct. Now, if you're really not sure if they're correct or you don't feel that they're correct, I would recommend seeking an accredited VA attorney, whether that be myself, somebody else, a VA accredited agent. There's plenty of them out there as well, or a veteran service officer who can also assist you. If you would like to, I'll give you my email address, veteranlang.com. Again, veteranlang.com. The word veteran, my last name Lang, Lang.com. You can go to my webpage there, click a button for a free case evaluation. It's going to pop up in my calendar. A couple of questions. Answer those questions, pick a time and date that's available. I'll give you a call. We'll have a chat. All right, with that, let's get back to the appeals process. So, veterans, you have 1 year from the notification letter is what they call it. So that letter that you're getting with the whole packet in there that has the decision attached to it, you have one letter from the date that's on top of that letter. 1 year to file an appeal. Inside that packet, you're going to find a handout. It's got the 3 different options for pursuing an appeal. One option you have is called a supplemental claim. Now, a supplemental claim works in other ways outside of the appeal, but I think it's better to avoid some confusion with the appeal process and go ahead and leave that off there for now and how else it functions, and we can always come back to it another time. But if you're within the 1 year, you can submit a supplemental claim. Supplemental claim will only be reviewed by a VA if you submit new or potentially new evidence with that supplemental claim. So the idea here is that the VA is giving you an option to say, hey, there's some evidence I forgot, some evidence I thought was there that wasn't there, there's some evidence that wasn't talked about that I think is in my file. So either way, you've got some evidence you want to submit to your claim. You want to really make sure it's new, something that VA hasn't reviewed. You can look down to your decision that's attached in that letter. It's got a big VA logo seal on top, and then you're gonna find in there an evidence list. Essentially, that's supposed to say what the VA reviewed or has record of. So if you don't find what you submitted in there, you can make note of that or resubmit that information as new evidence. So new and relevant evidence, make sure it goes with your claim. Make sure it's not something that just is new that has nothing to do with your claim. You'll end up wasting time. But in short, there's your first lane that you get a choice of. You got new evidence you want to submit to appeal your claim. You want a supplemental claim. It's usually what you're looking at. Your next option is a higher level review. Higher level review goes up to a person who's supposed to be more senior and better trained, supposed to be. So we have what we call rating veteran service representatives, also known as rating specialists, RVSRs, raters that do the supplemental claims. The higher level reviews are done by decision review officers, again, supposed to be higher trained and more senior. But what they ultimately are tasked with when you file an appeal underneath the higher level review is to review the claim as it is. So from when you submitted the claim to the date of that decision or to that decision. So you can't submit additional evidence, and there's no submission of new evidence. If you submit new evidence, the higher level review claim, the decision review officer won't be allowed to even look at it or consider it. So the higher level review is ultimately for when you want to say, hey, that first decision was wrong based upon the evidence of record, or maybe there was a duty, that the legal duty the VA failed to complete, and high level review, I want you to look at that. So the higher level review does have an informal conference piece attached to it. If you would like to actually speak with that decision review officer, you're more than entitled to do that as well. They do call it optional. It is just considered an informal conference, so definitely not like a full-blown court hearing or anything, but it is an opportunity for you to speak about the evidence of record, and maybe even give some additional information to that decision review officer to help them understand what they're looking at. The decision review officer can also take and make a decision to send back your decision to a supplemental claim. Essentially, if you're arguing or you feel that a legal duty was missed. So understand that even though you put it right here at the higher level review, if they do find what they feel to be a duty to assist error, they may send it back down to a supplemental claim. So I mentioned that because ultimately when you get another decision, you've opened your door back up to a higher level review again. Underneath the rules, as the VA sees them, you can't submit a higher level review on top of a higher level review. So if that higher level review doesn't send it back, just know you exhausted that lane in the appeals world once that decision's out. And if it continues to not give you that favorable decision, you are stuck now with that supplemental claim lane, or this claim lane that we're about to talk about, which is the notice of disagreement to the Board of Veterans Appeals. Board of Veterans Appeals, for short, being BVA. Now, the Board of Veterans Appeals is the actual administrative body of the VA for appeals. This is the first time that veterans, you get an opportunity to present your case to an attorney, maybe more than one in the process, but to an attorney and to a judge. There are three options on the BVA notice of disagreement, or the appeal, as you may hear it referred to. You get a direct review. You can either do direct review, which is very similar to the higher level review claim, with the exception that you're actually getting a judge and an attorney looking at your case. I really highlight this because it's unfortunate, I feel, in my opinion, from my experience, that the other appeals are done by I won't say non-educated, but the individuals don't have formal education for law. They don't have the same education that the attorneys and judges will have to understand the theories of law, the practice of law, the rules of law, to understand the interpretation of legal court decisions from the federal circuits, from the Court of Appeals for the Court of Appeals for Veterans. Just keep that in mind. On the other hand, just be cautious when you file. Also know that it's going to take you a lot longer to get a decision, unfortunately, from the Board of Veterans Appeals, just because they are working a lot of appeals, and they do take a little bit more time to understand what's in the file. Again, in my experience, my opinion. So you get the direct review, which is like the HLR, the higher level review. You can't submit additional evidence. No evidence that came in after the fact of that decision can be reviewed by the BVA. You also get an option for an evidence lane. So if you do want to have more evidence submitted, kind of like a supplemental claim, you can select that option as well. Do note there is a time limit to that. It's not an indefinite door. You only have 90 days to submit that evidence from the time that you file that notice of disagreement or appeal to the BVA. You also have an option for a hearing with the judge. If there's additional testimony you'd like to provide to the judge to help the judge understand the situation at hand, or to help give more detail that maybe is not being reflected in the evidence, that's definitely an option. You can select that on their form as well, so you get that option at the BVA. You get a few different options on how to do that. From my experience and from what I like to select on is just the virtual hearing option that has really come out since the pandemic, since COVID really took over. So this has become huge and a lot easier to do without traveling to Washington or traveling to a local regional office. Veterans, you can do it from your home or from pretty much wherever you like. In all honesty, so those are your options for an appeal. When you get that decision, go through that notification packet there. The letter in there tells you what to do if you disagree. Again, you get to disagree with the entitlement to service connection, the evaluation, and or the effective date. You get the three options: the supplemental claim, the higher level review, the Board of Veterans Appeals, and then you get your other options in your Board of Veterans Appeals, whether that being a direct review, evidence review, or a hearing. One thing I did leave off is after the hearing, you do get another 90 days. You do get an automatic 90 days to submit evidence. So the evidence lane and the hearing lane gives you two periods of evidence. Both give you opportunities. To submit that evidence. So you have a period there. So these are your options. Some questions I get with these is how long do they take, and this is one thing I slightly mentioned with deciding which way to go. Now, your options are your choice. I don't know the facts of your case, and I'm not here to tell you which way to go. Either one of those situations or filings can be the right one for you. Not what I know. The form does have some time lanes on it to about how long these claims take. Now, this form has not been updated for I don't know how long, so those dates are probably not quite as accurate, but understand there's still goals that are set and that the VA strives for. The VA, at least at the regional office level that as I'm familiar with, when I was there, strived for about 125 days as a goal for the most part there. Do claims get worked that fast? Not always. But understand that usually those are quicker claims. Can they still take a year or two? Yes. There's a lot of things that can occur in there. Could be facts of the case. Could be logistical errors the VA is having. Could just be the constant submission of additional evidence along the way, if that's an option. It could be anything. It's just hard to say. But both the higher level review and supplemental claim, I would say, will probably fit within those dates that are on that form that you have there. Fairly close, but no, it could be sooner, no, it could be later. But I would probably go with the goal on average of the 125 days, roughly. The Board of Veterans Appeals, the BVA, unfortunately, they're getting inundated with appeals as well, but they only have one office to review appeals with. There's also only so many attorneys and judges in the world. We're not hiring just off the street, just anybody and everybody who needs a job. So understand we're limited in resources as well. They work really hard to get things done. In another video, we'll talk about how some of those logistics from even the lower level in those additional appeals could be slowing them down as well. But they are slowed down no matter how hard they try to get through stuff or how many people they hire due to limitations and logistics. For which I'm not going to go in detail on in this video. But because of that, I am personally seeing on this side claims that are taking 3 or more years. So do understand, veterans, if you do file a claim with the BVA, you may have a savings account waiting for you in the end. But at the same time, the appeals don't always work in perfection that way. As it could be possible that the BVA is unable to make a decision to grant or deny based upon errors made at the lower level in the VA, and the rules require the BVA to send that claim back or remand it in the appeal process to have those issues fixed. So that's going to tack on more time to that appeal. I don't tell you this to discourage you from filing any appeals in certain areas. I know I utilize the BVA just as much as any other lane, depending on facts of the case. But it's an idea of answering that question of how long, and I get that a lot. So I can't say for sure, but just know that this is what's being seen, and then these are kind of what the goals are of the VA to complete, and that there is an idea of a time frame on the sheet that you're provided as well. So if you happen to become a veteran that I serve, that I represent, and you ask me that question, pretty much the answer you're going to get from me, I don't know, because I don't work inside the VA and give the logistics, but I'll likely refer you to that sheet. So just notes there. So veterans, in short, this is the way the appeal process works. You're given certain options. You have 1 year from the date of that letter after the decision to appeal. Again, whether the effective date, the entitlement, service connection, or the evaluation. And you get it, again, more than one option, but just be mindful of what those options are, and that information is included in your from the VA and inside your packet there. So I thank you, everybody, for watching my video here today and listening and learning about the overview of the appeal process. I look forward to the next video that we all have together. Thank you.